This is Hashtag Daily K's Peter Bint. You're about to listen to K-Life A to Z with Colin Marshall, which airs every Wednesday, hour number 2, diving deep into multiple aspects of life in Korea. Korea and Koreans are seen through the eyes of foreigners, and the honest, vivid stories felt within that experience.
Shall we take one step deeper into life in Korea now? It's time to learn absolutely everything about Korea.
On K-Life A to Z
with Colin Marshall.
Already midway through September, Colin's in again to give us a slice of K-Life. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm coming along. My kids are coming along. They're growing up.
Is time flying more, or is it going by slower because you're getting up more in the night, I assume, than you used to?
You get into a routine, right?
Yeah.
You get used to the waking up 4 times at night, then 3 times. But as you know, it goes down. So as they grow, they eat more, they sleep longer, and eventually, so as I understand, they will sleep through the night. So we're just all waiting for that.
You know, I want to give you hope. And I think, no, in the majority of cases there is hope and it's not that far down the tunnel. But my son was a terrible sleeper for years.
Oh, yes? For
years and years and years. He still, as a middle schooler, will often end up on the floor of our bedroom. I cannot believe it. You know, I said to myself, because I was quite a bad sleeper when I was young, so maybe it's something in the DNA. I remember in primary school up to, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, still wandering into my parents' room sometimes and sleeping on their floor in the middle of the night. And I was like, when my son was the similar age, you know, I grew out of it, so he'll grow out of it. He won't be sleeping on our floor in middle school, is what I said. Yeah, that's what I said. And my wife was like, I hope so. And then look at him still there sometimes on the floor when I wake up.
But he does sleep through the night there.
No, like he will come in the middle of the night. But the good thing is, he doesn't disturb us. But for him, it's not a great sleep. I think he has some anxiety around nighttime and stuff like that. And watching horror content doesn't help. He's drawn to that. So, okay, don't let your kids watch horror at their age. Okay, they're not ready for it.
At least not before bed.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I'm sure the routine will settle down. What are you doing? It's a couple of weeks away, but still, for Chuseok, like the first one with twins, and they're so young.
And they're so young, so they can't really enjoy any Chuseok food. I suppose we can dress them up. Their Baegil is going to be coming up soon too, in November.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of events coming up, but I think we've been doing so much, we've had so much to handle that Chuseok has not been a priority, unfortunately.
Is there no pressure to go somewhere or meet the family? Because they're pretty young, so I'm guessing even Korean families would not be expecting them to make an experience.
Yeah, there wouldn't be that expectation, but my wife's mom is staying with us right now, so she's already there. And there's a lot of relatives are pretty close by already. Okay. So I don't think anybody's expecting us to go to any of the families at the other end of the country.
Yeah, you're not having to take them and then make them do some bows or anything like that.
They can't raise their heads, let alone
they're not
bowing.
At that age at all. We've got a topic today which must be about the 10th topic that we've linked into K-pop Demon Hunters on Hashtag Daily K.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm not sick of it because I actually really enjoyed watching that film. I said at the time, and I still stick by this, it was a very condensed story. You know, it's very short as well, like 90 minutes. But there's music. It really caught me. I loved most of those songs on that soundtrack.
And you hear them in public. At a cafe, they'll be playing, I'll hear a song and I'll think, oh, I know this song.
Yeah.
Wait, it was from K-pop Demon Hunters. This is a fictional band.
Yes.
This isn't even a real band.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then we've heard from our listeners all across the globe how it's been doing in the charts abroad, tracks like Golden and Soda Pop. You know, Golden, I think, got to the top of the Billboard, got to the top of the UK Top 40 chart as well. And the aspect of Korean culture is not linked to the music there. We're going to be talking about Jjimjilbang today.
Jjimjilbang, yeah. Truth be told, I have had a few ideas that have come to mind for this segment from K-pop Demon Hunters that I might do later. But this one, it didn't occur to me, but the staff here on this program suggested Jjimjilbang, because there is a scene, as I recall, vaguely, where they go to a Jjimjilbang.
It was, I think, more the bath side of the Jjimjilbang, if I remember correctly, right? But that's included in a Jjimjilbang, the public kind of bath.
Describe what this is. So when we say Jjimjilbang, what do we think of? We think of a facility, which is very common in Korea, that includes, yes, the public bath, where you can bathe, of course, but also with different kinds of hot tubs. And then these baths, one for men, one for women, are connected to a common area where you can all go hang out, watch TV, sleep, some subject we'll get to in more detail. But there are also little saunas, you could say, these steam rooms made of different materials. And so you can do a lot of different things at Jjimjilbang. You can also get scrubbed. There's the daemiri, literally daemilda, which is to scrub off the dead skin or dirt. And this is not exactly a massage.
No.
I don't know if I've never had it done, but women like to get it.
I've had it done once or twice professionally. And then when I was young with my Korean mother, she would buy what are called Italy towel from Korea. These bright green scrubbers.
Oh, that's what they call those things.
Because it was a material from Italy.
Wow.
And then they call them Italy
towel.
Yes, yes. It doesn't look Italian whatsoever at all. And it used to hurt, I remember, when I was young. I'd be in the hot bath and my mum would be like, you got to get your dare out. And I'd be like, what is dare? And she would show me. She'd scrub me, sometimes red raw. And it would just look like what we call the leftovers from a rubber and a razor in the US, right? It looked like those grey little spindly bits. And I'd be like, where did that come from? And I think maybe you'd call it dead skin cells or like a form of exfoliation.
Right.
And it doesn't work with everyone. That's the interesting thing. It didn't work with me all the time. Sometimes something would come out and then sometimes nothing would come out.
Yeah, not every time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, I've got to say, and I don't see the need for it. But some people swear by it in Korea.
Swear by it, and as you say, if you're not red when you come out, it was not a good treatment. No. You have to go back in there and get it again. The ladies who do this are prized for their strength, and they look solid typically, but you can get all kinds of treatments at some of the bigger Jjimjilbang. But in the U.S., these exist. Jjimjilbang, they tend to be called Korean spas.
Okay.
I'm going to the Korean spa.
I was going to ask, how can we say this in English and not mislead people? Because, a spa in the UK is some expensive bougie place which will cost you an arm and a leg, and you'll spend the day there in your dressing gowns and get massaged and maybe do a free sauna and also bath kind of things. But it's not that vibe at a Korean spa.
Not that vibe, not like the luxury vibe. No. Last week we talked about street food, and I mentioned getting to know hotdog in Los Angeles, in Koreatown where I used to live.
Yeah.
And the same goes with Jjimjilbang. I would go to these Korean spas.
Oh, wow.
There were several I could just walk to, and it was always a good experience. I thought of them as sort of relaxation facilities. You'd go there for 5-6 hours, and you'd hang out in the different saunas. I never got, as I say, I never got the daemir also. But it was fun to just spend time there because the vibe, while not necessarily luxurious, is relaxing. And most people were Korean who were there, but there were some non-Koreans. It was in America after all.
Of course.
And my association with this experience, I always think of this in the locker room one time. The first time I went, when I was leaving, getting changed in the locker room, because they give you uniforms to wear. There was another guy there, and a black guy, quite large, and he just said to no one in particular, "Oh, I'm going to sleep like a fat baby tonight." He'd been that relaxed, like just said it in the locker room.
Lovely.
So I always think of that guy when it's been a long time since I've gone to a Jjimjilbang. Have you been to any recently here in Korea?
Because of the kids, I've been more often.
This is something we'll talk about, I'm sure.
When I first started dating my wife, we would try and find different things to do every weekend. So, of course, we ended up in the Jjimjilbang a few times. But then in our mid-dating era, we never went.
Yeah.
And then once my kids got to a certain age, it was actually a nice place to go where, like you said, you get given uniforms, which are basically shorts and T-shirts, like what you get given at a gym here. Like, we don't tend to wear our own clothes in those kind of facilities, right? We all fit in. So you get some comfy T-shirts and shorts. The rooms are nice and warm with the ondol, the heat coming up from under the floor. And then you get mats that you lay down on the floor, and you just lie in a big communal area, like next to strangers,
right? Next to strangers.
There's a TV, and there are cushions there as well. These not like pillows that you're thinking of. They're usually rectangular block cushions. Which,
the mokjim. They're literally like a neck support.
Yeah.
They work better than you would imagine.
Yeah,
but
they look uncomfortable.
They're sort of hemispherical. Hemispherical? They're semicircular? I don't know, but they go under your neck and they're wood.
Yeah, and
they're not soft.
They're nice and relaxing. And so as a parent who's, a bit tired from rearing your child, you go there, you let them run around. There's sometimes some play areas for kids as well, a soft play area.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice. And they still like going, even though my son's in middle school, because they feel like they've got the run of the place. They know where we're lying down.
Yeah, exactly. It's a closed environment. And there are many different areas. And as I say, there are different saunas, shall we say, steam rooms you can choose. They're all connected to the main common area. And the sort of fancier the Jjimjilbang, the more varieties they have. But there's the clay sauna.
That's the traditional one, right?
That's always going to be there. There's cypress wood sauna. There's the salt.
Smells good,
The salt room. One of the walls are like rock salts.
I don't know what that does. Like, my son has tried to taste it before. I'm like, don't lick it. But he's like, it doesn't really taste the salt. But that's meant to have some kind of medicinal benefit.
I like the salt room. It's the temperature is nice there. There are different temperatures, so you can have they're usually warm, quite warm, or you can go to ones that are very hot. There's the extra hot room, which can be intense for someone who's not a habitué of the Jjimjilbang. But then there's the ones with like a charcoal brazier, the charcoal room. There's the ice room, where it's actually cold.
Kids love that one.
Yeah, so the contrast, you go back and forth, watagata, the hot room and the cold room. There's stones like amethyst, the amethyst room sometimes.
Some will have stones on the floor as well, so when you tread on them, they kind of give you a foot massage too.
That, and then the high oxygen room, the sanso, where the concentration of oxygen is higher. That's occasionally one you'll see there. I don't know what effect it's supposed to have when you stay there a long time, but...
And you can just move freely. It's not like we said, the luxury spa in the West, you do have to book each thing or someone will guide you around. You just open the door, stroll in, kids stroll in. Sometimes they're noisy. Sometimes people don't like that. You kind of lie down again on the floor in these rooms. Sometimes there's no room, so you'll just kind of go back out with your tail between your legs and wait until someone exits.
Yes, wait your turn.
You've always got a towel around your neck to wipe off the sweat, or some people make those funny from K-pop Demon Hunters, I think they had it as well. The kind of Princess Leia style.
The young mori. Yes, the sheep.
That's a gotta do, and you got to take a selfie.
You got to take a selfie. There are certain things you have to do, but these can have different facilities, these Jjimjilbang. There can be restaurants and snack bars.
Yeah.
There can be little convenience stores even. PC bang, they can rooms with computers, which are not that popular in Jjimjilbang, but they're there. Massage chairs. Libraries, as you say, playgrounds. Some of these facilities, they have built-in water parks, and they're attached to other, not quite theme parks, but they're attached to other sort of entertainment establishments. So they're all together in one complex sometimes.
Yeah, and the really fancy ones, the most fancy that I've been to are in the big shopping centres. Here in Goyang, there's one in Hanam. And they have outdoor areas where they'll have like a foot spa with the water you can put in, and like you said, some will be connected to water parks that have a swimming pool and water slides. You have to pay separately, but you can kind of link into them and go into them. Yeah,
sometimes there are different levels you can pay for, depending on what you're doing. They're never very expensive. To get in, basically to get in, it's maybe 10,000 won. Sometimes cheaper, sometimes a little more expensive, but it's not again like a luxurious spa. You're not paying a huge ticket to get in.
If you're at a loose end and you want to try this and you've just watched K-pop Demon Hunters, I definitely recommend it. And like Colin said, if you don't like public bathing, because that is separated men and women and you're naked, like you are not allowed to wear swimming costumes in there. They will have a sign there. And so if you're a bit shy to do that, you can just go to the communal area and enjoy all that and leave, right? Take a shower in a private booth and whatnot afterwards. Cool and hot, that encapsulates the Jjimjilbang. Although, as Colin did say earlier, most of the sauna rooms are on the warmer and hotter side. You will get, like he said, the ice room and sometimes one other cool room, but the majority are warm or hot. I don't know if this is a stereotype, but I really do feel Koreans in general prefer warmer temperatures to Westerners, at least. That goes for the home. So with the ondol heating in the winter, we'll crank it up higher, Koreans, than I think your average Westerner would. And then in the jjimjilbangs, yeah, some of those rooms I find really uncomfortable, but Koreans love it, and they love that feeling when they come out, sweated it out and stuff.
I think we can tie this into Korean history because you look at the name Jjimjilbang. Maybe listeners will know that jim, the first syllable jim, from certain foods, steamed foods, jjimdak, the steamed chicken, galbi jim. So yes, that's a similar phenomenon, the steaming, the jim. Jjimjil is a form of treatment. Like this was thought of as medicinal in Korean history. Sweating. Treatments that made you sweat. That's jjimjil. And if you go back to the Joseon dynasty, there were hanjungmak, and these were kiln-type saunas. They were like saunas, and they existed since then. There wasn't so much public bathing in the Joseon dynasty. Before that, there was some like Roman, not necessarily Roman-inspired, but Roman-like public baths before in previous eras. But that wasn't so much a thing in the Joseon era. But you mentioned ondol as well. This Korean underfloor heating technology still in use all over Korea. And this goes back to antiquity. And ondol is an integral part of the jjimjilbang as well. As you say, when we go to this common area, lie down on the mats, there's going to be ondol. So that's a part of it as well. Another current flowing into the jjimjilbang is mogyokdang, the public baths, which appeared sort of after the Korean War, heavily influenced by the Japanese sento. And if you go to Japan to a sento, you'll see they use the same symbol, which you still see around Korean cities. The little circle with the three like waves of steam coming out the top, that symbol.
You'll see that in Japan as well.
Yeah, you will. You'll see the same symbol.
That's
there
interesting.
are still public baths, these facilities specifically for bathing.
Just mogyokdang, we call them, right?
They still exist in Korea. They're kind of going away, partially because of jjimjilbang. They have them all in one. So originally, when Jjimjilbang first came out, they were separate. You had the mogyokdang, which was one place, and then the Jjimjilbang only facilities were separate. But now they're always integrated because you do the bathing first, then you go do the jjimjil. You go to the Jjimjilbang. So there's been a grand sort of integration. But
I want to say that when I came in like the 80s, I was young, so my memory might be tricking me. I don't remember jjimjilbangs. I never went to one until like the 90s, late 90s. And so it was all about your 동네 목욕탕, your local bathhouse. And I think that probably stemmed out from older housing not even having bathing facilities, right?
Or you might as well go to a public place because the facilities will be better there.
And some places have like the literal water coming out of the ground, so it's got the health benefits. And I used to go with my uncle as a child, and I used to love it going in between the hot one and the cold one, the ontang and the nengtang. And then, throughout the 90s and 2000s, that kind of died out. Jjimjilbangs got massive and you had them in shopping centres. But then I feel, until more recently, they've kind of been dying out a little bit.
Jjimjilbang as well. This what you're saying aligns with a history I've been reading up on, because they did exist in the 80s, not in great numbers. But then in the 90s, really, the first Jjimjilbang as we know it today opened in 1993 in Incheon. Many things started in Incheon. I've been discovering in these segments, like it goes back to Incheon oftentimes, whether it be Joriwon or whether it be certain street foods like geranbang. Stuff happens in Incheon. It's really been the entrepot for so long.
I wonder if it is still linked to the fact that a lot of foreigners came in through that port.
And when it was Jeonmulpo.
Maybe cultures still come in through there.
It still feels different in Incheon. I like Incheon, but the 90s, as you say, that was really the time when they blew up. And then in the early 2000s, when Hallyu began, when non-Koreans started getting into Korean popular culture, they also noticed, jjimjilbang, these Korean spas, these Korean saunas, and they got interested. First other Asian countries, then the West, and then we talked about the yangmori, the way you tie the towel on your head. I can't really do it.
No,
I should learn it so I can do it for my kids, but that's now 20 years old. Only 20 years old, actually. But the 2005 drama, 내 이름은 Kim Sam-sun. I think it was My Lovely Kim Sam-sun, something like that in English. You remember this drama? It was a huge thing.
It was massive, A lot of our listeners have watched that and got hooked through it.
Did they?
Yeah.
I mean, that introduced young mori, this style of wearing the towel.
That was in the drama.
Yeah. And because of that, people started doing it.
Yeah, and so then was the boom. And I remember the first time I went, I was just confused. I was like, you wear shorts and T-shirts and then you all like just sit in this room. And we talked about the ondo, we mentioned that. in the general room, it's not that hot.
Not that hot.
Like, you kind of feel the floor and it's a bit warm, but it's not like you'd imagine this could be therapeutic. It's just kind of comfortable enough so that a short and t-shirt is not cold. And then there's guys and girls there, and like you said, there's a restaurant there often, or somewhere you can get snacks. And so that was nice to order snacks and have the kind of Jjimjilbang food experience.
Let's mention what the foods are. What do you usually get at a Jjimjilbang?
I don't like them, but you have those like smoked boiled eggs.
Yes,
right?
the stone cooked eggs.
Yeah.
Yes, I like those.
They go
like
brown,
them.
right?
They're
kind of
yeah.
salty just naturally, right?
Yeah.
I don't like boiled eggs in general, so that's why I'm not a fan. But I like the misukaru, which is the drink that you get, which is like powdered, I don't know, like grains, and then
I think they call it Job's Tears tea in English. I don't know if that's a well-known term outside Korea, even in English.
As attractive,
It doesn't sound, but there's also the shike, the cinnamon rice drink, which they give you in special bottles that they put ice in.
Yeah, these big plastic bottles that you never see anywhere else apart from the Jjimjilbang.
No.
And they've got a really wide diameter and they're full of ice. They've got the straw stuck in, and that was nice. But again, you're eating that oftentimes back at your mat on the floor. And they give you a little tray. And I was like, well, this is interesting, but I'm just confused. And then when I saw there was a public bath, and we went after the Jjimjilbang experience, you can do that. Obviously, there's no rule that says you have to bathe before, although a lot of Koreans do that. And then I was like, okay, well, I used to like public bathing, and then you get nice and clean with this nice water. You can have your skin exfoliated if you want. I was like, as an experience, it is like a spa day in the West, but much cheaper and for the massive, and kind of do it yourself. Yeah,
it is DIY. Yeah, you have to really experience it to know why it's appealing. On paper, if you're foreign, you can't really, I guess that's kind of a spa. I don't know. But I haven't been to one in a long time, as I say.
Yeah.
But actually, researching this segment, I thought, I'd like to go to one. Again, it is really nice to spend the day there. And, you can bring a book or something. People are on their phones, of course. So they crowd around the outlets. So that can be a real war. But as you say, it can be a family activity.
Yeah.
And my kids are newborns, so they can't go yet to a Jjimjilbang. But I'm looking forward. How young do you see? I've seen toddlers there.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
When they're of toddler age, and it is then not such a relaxing experience for you because you've got to follow them around to that age. And even in the soft play places, you're there just in case they have a fall or bump their heads or whatnot. But they can still enjoy it at that age.
They can still enjoy it.
And then they've got the food. Usually it's basic Korean food and then a few kids' items like tonkas, the pork cutlet and things like this. And like you said, many of them have the mejom, which will sell just convenience store level snacks. Not as big a variety as a convenience store, but unlike in the UK where I think a lot of those prices would be jacked up, they're just reasonable. Like the food is not that expensive.
People complain that it's pricier than a pyeongjilbang, than a convenience store, which of course it is, but that's cheap to begin with.
Exactly.
So it's like, yes, it's more than you pay outside a Jjimjilbang, but it's still not so bad.
Not bad at all. And then like the kind of more Western spa aspect, a lot of places have a masseuse, like a kind of Western style masseuse. So you can do that not in the public bath area, but in the Jjimjilbang area. You have to pay extra.
You have to pay extra,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not included in the admission. And that's also really enjoyable. But yeah, if you're in Korea and you're not one of these people who has to go and see something and make the most of your time, a few hours in here is just a nice way to relax. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, and we'll talk about it more in part 3. You can almost technically use this as your accommodation.
Yes,
right?
this is the key difference between the Jjimjilbang and any other equivalent, which we can explain more. But yes, we'll talk about sleeping here. You can sleep there, not just during the day, but you can stay the night. Yeah, people do it. But again, we'll get into it in the third part, I suppose.
Yeah, because you can sleep just in that communal area on those mats, like lots of parents do. That's when they crash out when the kids are having some fun. But there are designated areas for it, which was one of the most interesting aspects for me that I learned a bit later on. Arirang.
Arirang. Arirang. Arirang Radio.
We're back for part 3, K-Life A to Z, talking today about the Jjimjilbang, the Korean kind of spa, but very different to what you're thinking of if you're thinking of a Western spa. And I think many cultures have this, right? Even in the UK, spa days, were the reserve of the rich and wealthy. Like, I don't think my parents ever went for one. But back in the day, we still have Roman baths. The city of Bath is based on a Roman bath that you can still go and visit and stuff like that.
From the days of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's always been that belief in the restorative benefits of this. Turkish baths, I've seen that culture looks really intriguing. And this is kind of Korea's own version, so we want to explain all about it. I think it was Siska who was saying, here in Indonesia, if you say sauna, that is a different concept, though. That's more like your personal spa. And I think in Finland, where the word comes from, that is the thing. It's like your own hut.
Exactly,
out in the back,
and this is something I wanted to get into. I very lackadaisically have studied Finnish for a few years, so I can tell you sauna is a Finnish word.
Yes.
And it's a real thing. Finnish saunas, most households in Finland have them.
Yeah.
Like households.
That's
they have them in their
amazing.
house.
Yeah.
And so we've watched a lot of Finnish dramas at home, and usually there'll be just offhand references to like, oh, we found the murder victim in his sauna. Like, so they have, people want to have their own saunas.
Not just the rich and wealthy. Right?
No, anyone. No. Yeah, this is like everybody expects to have a sauna almost. And so it's a cultural identity thing, but it's very individualistic. Like go to my sauna, and Finns spend time alone. Like there's so many jokes in Finland about like the happiest Finn is alone in the sauna in the woods. But I wanted to draw some contrast because there's Finnish sauna culture. You mentioned Turkish baths, hammam, I think they're called. There's those two, which are direct descendants of Roman baths from the Roman Empire.
Okay.
There's Japanese sento, which we've talked about. And then we have Korean jjimjilbang. And each of these has different functions. You know, the Turkish hammam, this is in an Islamic culture. So men and women are strictly separated. One day men can go, the other day women go.
Wow.
So that's how strict it is. But these baths are lavish in Turkey. It's all about Roman grandeur, you could
like
say.
mosaic
Marble, mosaic,
like that, right?
Roman, Byzantine, it's all there, all these styles. Japanese sento are really about getting clean. Like the idea is you're getting clean, and if it's in a natural setting, you're sort of communing with nature. As I say, Finnish saunas are personal, private, individual. These are not public facilities, generally speaking. But the real key point that sets off the Korean jjimjilbang is what we teased earlier. You can spend the night there. You can use it as your accommodation. And I knew an American guy, an English teacher here, who quit his English teaching job and wanted to say farewell to Korea by walking on foot across the country.
Wow.
And to do that, he had to spend the night somewhere. And so he always slept in a jjimjilbang because it's the cheapest way you can do it. Luggage storage can be a problem. Some are better than others for sleeping. We might give a few tips. If you want to do this, do a little research on your phone first. You want to make sure the jjimjilbang has a separate sleeping area.
Yeah, which many do. They have the sleeping room, right?
But some of them, like it's never dark in the common area, so it's like prison. The lights never really go out.
Yeah.
And there are many snorers in Korea.
This is true.
And if you have several snorers together, especially if it's a jjimjilbang where a lot of middle-aged men who missed the last train after drinking are crashing, which is a common use, you're going to hear them. They're going to be right there with you.
Yeah.
But again, some jjimjilbang have separate areas just for sleeping, and so those are going to be quieter.
And I think these are always, if not like 99%, separated by gender as well, the sleeping rooms, because they can be
that's a good point.
Some worries for that. Korea's a very safe society, but I've heard some Koreans even tell me, try not to sleep in a jjimjilbang, because like possible. You said, you might have some drunk people there who are just trying to sleep off their hangovers, but you never know, kind of thing.
It's never your first choice to sleep, but this is the real it's the real key difference, and it's not something that people do on the sly. It's one of the official functions of a jjimjilbang, and sometimes they'll charge you more if you're staying overnight. Not much more.
No.
But the mats are communal; they're in common use, so you want to pick a mat that's in good condition. Again, the outlets for cell phone charging, there can be a bit of a battle over those. And increasingly, there are those stations you can pay to charge your phone inside jjimjilbang. So they're addressing that concern as well in their way.
And then you can wash as well, like the best washing facilities. So it is actually perfect if you're on a tight budget and you want a K experience to sleep at least one night and see what it's like if you want. And because it is very cheap. If you're halfway through the night and you're like, this isn't working, you could then go to, I don't know, some motel or
There will be a
hotel
motel
nearby.
within 1 minute's walk, probably in most of these cases. This is something else to point out, is that no matter where you are in Korea, it could be a small town, it could be some maul, it could be in some rural somewhere, there will be jjimjilbang. They're not evenly spread across the country, but there always are jjimjilbang. So you can rely, even if you're, again, on foot walking across Korea, like this one guy I mentioned, you can know wherever you get to next, whatever sort of settlement you find yourself in, there will be a jjimjilbang. Maybe not necessarily the cleanest sometimes. Maybe some of them are old, but again, there are, in bigger cities, there are these new jjimjilbang that are part of huge complexes. I went to the one in Busan, which is the biggest in the country, I think,
that,
and that's quite nice.
Does it overlook the sea? Do you have a sea view there?
I think there's another where the one I went to was a very sort of urban setting, but I'm sure in Busan, since it's by the sea, there are several that overlook the sea. So again, they customize them to your taste and to who's going there. You know, whether that's family oriented, whether it's date oriented, whether it's drunken middle-aged salaryman oriented. You know, they're all in existence.
Yeah, the famous one for many foreigners was the one by Yongsan Station, Dragon Hill.
Yeah,
right?
literally Yongsan.
Yeah.
Have you been in there?
And I wanted to because it always looked a bit overbearing and a bit gaudy, and they had like this big dragon outside, and it was massive even by big Jjimjilbang standards. So I was a bit put off. And Yongsan in the past has had a reputation for maybe being a bit shady, and decades gone by. Now it is one of the most expensive places in Seoul. So I was kind of put off. And then a family told me, for kids, it's amazing. They got a water slide there.
Really?
It's one of those where it's got the swimming pool as well separately, but it's included in the price. And then I found out that by the time I got around to going, it shut down. And I think it was COVID and things
how did
like
it shut
this.
down?
Yeah.
Permanently?
And I'm not sure if they've reopened it, because I've gone to Yongsan many times since, and they haven't turned on the lights anymore.
Right,
and they've got other facilities in that building that have opened up. So I'm not sure if it's there full stop anymore.
This is something I wanted to make sure to mention. During the era of COVID, 2020 through about 2023 here, this was not an easy time for the jjimjilbang industry or 목욕탕. I mean, many of them, people stopped going, and then they didn't come back in many cases. So you did see a winnowing of jjimjilbang during those 3 years. Because a lot of people, I think, forgot they were even there. So that could have been a reason why some of us got out of the habit of going, is because we just didn't go for a stretch of time there in the early 2020s. But now, I mean, it's like any other. There's no special rules. You can just go again without a mask or all that. So it's, if you've forgotten about them, I suppose now is the time to get back in the habit. But I wonder if you've been to any jjimjilbang that have any particularly special characteristics or sort of any unique or different jjimjilbang. I was looking up a few, and you see jjimjilbang that are sort of attached to, as we say, water parks or with big libraries or in forested settings. There was one in Sinchon where I used to live, which was just up the hill. And you're in Sinchon, a university, very much urban neighborhood, but then you go up a hill and it feels like you really are in the forest. And they specialize in garetok, which we mentioned last week, street food, the grilled sticks of tok, and goguma, gun goguma.
That was their go-to food.
Those are their foods, yes. Everybody knows that spa for that jjimjilbang for those foods.
The one in the shopping centre, it is luxurious. Like I think, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's around 2만 원, 20,000
so
won. Right?
Quite a bit more expensive than most jjimjilbang.
You are pushing the limits there with jjimjilbang. You can get into like water park territory above that price. But it looks fabulous, like the way they've decorated it. It looks like a luxury hotel inside. But you're all in these kind of, I don't want to say this, but it is kind of like cheap-looking T-shirts and shorts, right?
Yeah,
They've been
sometimes
washed
they'll
and
have,
rewashed
like,
again.
they'll be faded, not uncommon to have holes in them, even at the higher-end facilities.
Yeah, and people don't tend to mind because you're just all looking the same.
Yes.
But there, as well as a whole plethora of different rooms, including a cold room which has a ceiling full of stars, and it's pretty dark in there, so you can lie back and look up to that. That looks really nice. They have, just for the parents and adults, it looks like a cinema with luxury seats, which we also have in Korea, like the individual leather sleep cinemas where you pay quite a hefty price. But there's no screen. You're just looking out into what is nature. Like there's a river in front of that place.
Nature is the screen.
Yeah, and it's massive glass walls and then these tiered leather seats. Getting a seat there, and you have a footrest as well, is so difficult because people would just settle down there and spend the whole 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, it could be the whole
and
time.
sleep and then look at their phones and things like this, and you can even eat at your seats. So I've always just looked in that room, been disappointed there's no seats.
Yeah.
And been like, how do I get that? Do I have to be here like the very first customer, do an open run or something like that? But I would highly recommend, once your kids get to a certain age, or if you can have someone look after the kids, take the missus
Yes,
there,
indeed.
have a relaxing time. You don't have to worry about food. You can lie down and fall asleep if you want. It's totally okay.
It's a good idea.
It's healing, yeah.
It is healing, as we could say in
Yes.
Konglish.
Yeah.
I've actually seen the inverse of what you mentioned, the view onto nature as the screen. In some of these Jjimjilbang in the sauna rooms, they project on the wall.
Yeah.
They have a screen showing nature. So it's not a window out onto nature, but they just show you a video of nature.
It's
and you can look at it
artificial.
while you feel the salt or whatever it might be on your skin.
Yeah. Do give it a try. K-pop Demon Hunters, thanks for highlighting this as well. And the Young Mori, it's not as difficult as you might first think. If you look at the videos for it, like maybe search out sheep head towel and that'll come up. I think you just roll it into a long strip and then there's some little trick that you do at the ends, but it's not as tough as it looks. Get your selfies in and send them in to us. We're really curious. Colin, thank you so much for this deep dive into Jjimjilbangs. We'll see you again next Wednesday.
Thank you. See you then.
You've just listened to K-Life A to Z with Colin Marshall and myself, Peter Bint, host of #DailyK. The segment airs every Wednesday, hour number 2, and takes a deep dive into multiple aspects of life and career.